What's good? What's up? What's good? Oh, that was just absolutely trash. What's good? What's up? What it do? It's your boy Is. You know I'm back, man. I'm just here on a regular Tuesday in New York. Nice and hot outside, nice and sunny. A nice unemployed Tuesday, if I may add. Cause jobs don't want to hire niggas. Fresh out of college, man, this shit tough. At this point, I'm ready to follow the path everyone else taking. Be a teacher, my nigga. This shit rough. See, it'd be rough if I was broke. If I was broke, this shit would be awful, my nigga. God awful if I was broke. Thank God I'm not broke. I can at least say I got some bread in my pocket, man. But to all my niggas who's listening today, man, I'm recording this on this. Like I said, this is a Tuesday. To all my niggas that's listening, if you in class right now, if you at work and your boss gave you a shitty ass assignment to do for the next 30 minutes or whatever, I'm the guy to listen to while you get this shit done. Or while you in class trying to avoid your professor who yapping all day about some shit you don't want to hear about, my nigga. To all my niggas still on the college grind, salute. You got this. I know classes probably just started for you niggas. For all my niggas who just dropped their girlfriend off at college, I give you a pat on the shoulder. Your girl be going by week 3. Man, I saw that video. Young dude dropped his girl off at college, made her room, hope to make up her room and all that. Shit, boy. You don't even know what's finna happen to you, young boy. Nigga better hope. I don't remember the video, but he better hope that his girl really solid, man. That college life get to everybody real fast. Real fast. The best advice I can give him is if you going to college somewhere else, my nigga, go enjoy your college experience. That doesn't mean fuck a bunch of bitches. What I would say is go take the most advantage of what you got on your campus. Basically, have fun, join some clubs, go to the parties, my nigga. Be outside. Don't be in the crib. Don't be in the dorm playing the game all day, worried about what your girl doing. 50% chance she either chilling, other 50% chance she outside doing something you might not want her to do. That's just the logic of the situation. But either way, for all my niggas dropping their girl off at college, or got a girl going to college, nigga, do you. Go have fun. Don't be stressing, sitting yourself in the dorm stressing about what she doing, my G. When you feel like the energy shifted, you ask that question and you go about your business. That be the problem with niggas, man. Niggas want to sit here and be sad and stressed about shit they can't control. You can't control that, my brother. You either got a good girl or you don't, my G. And it's gonna suffice and come out however it come out. I'm just saying. I'm just speaking my opinion, bro. You don't gotta agree with me. You don't gotta think what I'm saying is the truth. But I'm just saying what I know, what I seen. At the end of the day, for all my niggas dropping their girls off at college, don't stress yourself out about what's gonna happen or what's not gonna happen. Enjoy the ride and figure it out as you go along, my nigga. But moving on to another subject on a darker note, I like to say R.I.P. to the young lady who lost her life at Rice University. Um, that event is mad unfortunate. So I saw the post while scrolling through my feed this morning, and it was really, really, what can I say? It took me aback a lot. Not because the person just lost their life, but when you look at that situation, it really is tragic because this is a story that happens a lot to young women, unfortunately, and a young men go through the situation and handle it poorly as this young man did. So in the situation that happened, a young lady was going off to college. Her boyfriend, as well, was going off to college. She was supposed to start at Rice University. Her first day, she is the victim of a murder suicide. So apparently, the couple was going through issues. I guess arguing or whatever consistently. They had problems within their relationship. Allegedly, the young lady was talking to other young men during this time. The young man found out, and he tweaked out. He crashed out. He went to her dorm, or I may be getting the story wrong, but either way, he found her. He killed her. He wrote this long note detailing their relationship and everything that he was going through and that they were going through, and he unfortunately unalived himself. Now, why speak about this situation? Why shift the tone of this episode so much to talk about the situation? I wanted to talk about it because, like I said, it is important. It is a situation that many people go through, and also just the nuance of this or that. Someone lost their life, and a child is never going to go home. But to speak to the importance of the situation, like I said before, it's important because young women, young men, we see more recently consistently go through these types of relationships where it is hectic, it is uncontrollable, it is toxic, and there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes of the relationship that weigh mentally on both parties. And infidelity in any level of a relationship, whether it's a young relationship, an old relationship, a relationship that's hit its stride, is always something that will hinder a relationship, even if it's something that had happened in the past. Now, the reason why I say this is important, I know I'm repeating myself, but the reason why I say this is important is because this young lady did not deserve to lose her life, nor did this young man deserve to have his feelings hurt. But having your feelings hurt should never equal the other person losing their life. Yes, in this generation and in this day and age, people do play with people's feelings and people's emotions, and people love to say you cannot tell a person how to react. But this young lady did not need to lose her life behind this at all. He simply, to all the young men out here in a situation like this, just because someone does you wrong doesn't mean you gotta go do wrong. You know, and it's tempting. It's tempting. It's something that you feel is going to give you that release and that revenge that you want. But overall, it does nothing for you. All it does is going to harm your soul. It's going to weigh heavy on your mind. You're going to let that hate, that anger, and that resent in your heart turn to something dark. And for this young man, it turned into murder and then him taking his own life. Those feelings that you feel, young men, when it comes to situations like this of betrayal and resentment, let them go. They ain't going to do nothing for you. They're going to either turn you into a person that you eventually end up not liking. It's going to turn you into a person that expresses more of your dark characteristics. And those negative emotions just eat at you and eat at you to the point where you regress to something that is not at all you in any way, shape, or form. And like I said, it just does nothing for you in the end. You're going to hold on to all that pain, all that hatred, and this other person could not be feeling any of that. They might not even feel an ounce of regret about the decision they made that hurt you. And in situations like this where the two individuals are this young, that is something that's true. They may not realize that they was wrong. People are still kids. They don't understand the full totality of what they're doing to another person emotionally with these things at time. So you can't let someone else's actions overtake your whole emotional makeup, because it results in things like this. And to the other side of the story, with people who are in the young lady's shoes, of being the one who is allegedly engaging in infidelity and putting the relationship at risk. The simple answer to that is just end it. When it gets to a point where you are consistently doing things or being accused of doing things that is threatening the relationship, and maybe you don't see that in your eyes and you can't come to that realization for your partner, or it's simply you just you just can't commit to this one person and your eye wavers, maybe for yourself and for that person, it's time to just detach from each other physically and emotionally. It's time to move on and get past this. And in a lot of situations like these, I think that is the problem. People do not know how to simply move on. When you no longer can respect the person enough to not cheat on them or not disrespect your relationship, at that point it's time to move on. Not simply because you don't care about them no more, because some people may care about their person or their partner still after cheating. But it's time to move on, because what you do is now going to make this person, it's going to affect this person more deeply than you think, or more deeply than how you're being affected. The person doing the action can never fully understand the totality of their actions, because they're not the one getting the negative feedback from it. They're not the person hurt from it. And some people have the emotional intelligence to understand that. But if you have the emotional intelligence to understand that, why continue doing the action? And I say this because, as I said before, this young lady did not deserve to lose her life behind this. While infidelity is something that is very serious within a relationship, is a deal breaker for a lot of people, is a last straw. It's emotionally something that can tear a person apart. And it can result in things like this. And that's why I say, for people who are in the alleged shoes of the young lady who may have been committing infidelity, end it. Because situations like these are real, and playing with a person's emotions can result into these real life consequences where you never come back from. And speaking to the part of you never come back from, that is the part that is probably one of the most saddest things about this story, is that a child lost their life. A young lady lost her life. She was getting ready to embark on the journey of college that I have experienced, many other people have experienced, many other people would say is a 4 years of your life that if you get to have and you are able to have fun with, is maybe some of the 4 best years of your life. I, at 22, can say that college was a great 4 years of my life. I enjoyed the people I met there. I enjoyed the experiences I had good and bad. College, in totality, I can say, is an amazing fever dream of ups and downs. And the fact that this young lady is not able to experience that simply because of a young man's selfish decision, it's heartbreaking. Parents drop their children off at college knowing they're going to come back. Parents cry, they break down, they get sad once they drop their kids off. But in the back of every parent's mind, they know their child is coming back. These parents don't have that thought no more. And it's not even a month in or 2 months in. This young lady, they just dropped her off. She wasn't even there for long. And when I say just dropped her off, I don't mean literally. But she just got there. Those parents weren't even able to come to terms with the fact that their child isn't home, that their child is somewhere else building a life for themselves, and they can't watch over. that was going to be the fear that those parents had. Those parents no longer have that fear because selfishly, they now have to deal with the pain rather than fear that their child is gone. It is unfair for anybody to drop a loved one off anywhere and be unable to never see them again from that last moment. And it's selfish that this young man felt that that was the path he had to take. That he felt that that was his way of getting back. That he felt that that was going to be his release from the pain that he was experiencing. Momentary, transient emotions should never, never be the final decision for anything. And that's what this situation was. This was emotions that were only going to last for a minute in life that now resulted into a life-ending decision for two people. And it was selfish. You took the life of someone that, while they might not have been doing all the right things, they may have been hurting you emotionally, but you took their life. That's not your decision to make. That's no one's decision ever to make. Unfairly taking someone's life because of how you feel, because how you feel they done you, that should never be a line that's crossed. Never. It's never worth it. For what? Why not just live? Go live. Let that person's darkness be their darkness. Don't let that influence you to do things that are awful. And that's what this young man did. And then he took himself out. His family now never has the opportunity to see him again because of his selfish decisions. Overall, this situation is sad. It's heartbreaking and it's unfortunate. 2 children are gone over one selfish decision, and 2 families are changed forever. 2 families have 2 kids that they can never see come home. 2 lives that were supposed to be embarking on a 4 years that is supposed to grow them as a person professionally and internally. College is a place where you grow a lot internally. You learn a lot about yourself. It's not just a place where you boost your career. Those 2 young kids will not get to experience that. And why? Because of one selfish decision. And that's all I have to speak on that situation. It's unfortunate, but like I said, my advice in those situations is when you know it's over, leave it alone. Don't drag on something that does not need to be dragged on. Because then you reach situations like these where emotions now boil you over. They're now at a point where rationality is no longer present. And now 2 people have lost their life. And even on a minimal level, 2 people can just be put in a bad situation. One person can be put in just immense danger. This is a worst case scenario situation. There's situations that are not bad as this one, but are still bad situations. So to avoid bad situations like this, my advice with everyone involved, when you know it's over, don't drag it on. Leave it alone. Let it go. You know, something else, another thing. Mm-hmm. I had to take a second, but moving on again. I was watching a good amount of interviews this week, and I ended up watching Tyrese's Breakfast Club interview. I went in I went into the interview with a clear head, not really thinking much about what Tyrese had done in the past with his internet antics. But then watching the interview, and it was a very good interview. I liked how Charlamagne just let him talk, let him express himself, and it was a real interview. Um, Tyrese within that interview said a lot. He said a lot. He was honest about a lot, and there's a lot of things he said that really I think can stick with a lot of people. Um, one of the one of the things I saw circling around a lot that he said was, um, "I'm doing the best I got with every 24 hours I have." Something to that extent, basically saying he's doing the best he has with every 24 hours. And I think this was in response to Charlamagne asking how does he deal with grieving the death of his mother, his best friend, Paul Walker. Um, Also, I think his siblings. One of his siblings. I think his sister, or both his sisters, and his divorce. And that was his response: is that he's doing the best he has with every 24 hours. And that response is it's a real response to me because that's what we all do every day. Every day we try to do the best we have with every 24 hours that we get. And it's a blessing to be able to wake up each day and experience life for all it is, whether it's good or it's bad. And to me, that's what I took away when Tyrese said that, is that he has the opportunity to wake up every morning, live life, whether it's good or bad that day to him, but he has the opportunity to wake up every day and do the best he can with each hour that he's given to live. And I think it was so beautiful because that can almost be the whole theme of this interview that he did, is just doing the best with what you got. Taking the time you have and using it the best you have. And it was really such a interesting, to me, what I took away. It's just such an interesting display and show of just how much faith and hard work and just trying, like actually trying, like having faith and trying to do something with your life, and how much that really means. If y'all can understand what I'm saying, like that means so much to everyone. Of And just watching the interview, that's really what I took away from it. It was really just as a show and display of what faith and trying your best can get you. You know, Tyrese, within that interview, he displayed such a range of emotions and such a range of honesty that I think a lot of black men don't show anywhere. Um, Maybe only behind closed doors. A lot of older black men in media don't show that type of vulnerability. And I think one of the greatest things from that interview was him discussing his mom. and in his whole media circuit, how he's been discussing his mom. That honesty of, I love my mother, but there was also a lot wrong with my mother. And it shows the duality of man. And it shows how much love can be unconditional. Because Tyrese, when it came to talking about his mom in the Breakfast Club interview, in his interview with Shannon Sharp, and a lot of his other interviews, he told the truth of like, no, like, I love my mom. I miss my mom. He dedicated one of the songs on the album to her, Wildflower. I highly suggest y'all go listen to his album. That's nothing I'm gonna talk about. But he also said his mom was an alcoholic. He did say that his home life was not the best. He did have a funny story where he talked about how his mom sent him and his little brother down there to pretend to be special needs so they can get benefits. But he told the truth of how she was a great mother, but was also a troubled person, which at times didn't make her a good mother. And I think that level of honesty and vulnerability for him to show that is just something that you don't see. You know, in the black community, it's always, well, rather when it comes to the presentation of black mothers, it's always a this or that. It's always either she was a saint or she was the completely rugged, rough mom. But here you have a real example of a black man saying she was both. She was rugged. It was rough at times. But that was also my mom. That was also the woman that put food on the table, the woman that provided for me, the woman that was there. And that is the truth. And I think that is one thing that is lacking from media that highlights the black mother and highlights black women, is that there's duality to black women, and specifically to black mothers. But before I go off on a tangent, continuing with Tyrese's interview, his level of vulnerability was unmatched. Especially the viral moment when he throws the tissue, he says, "I'm not doing this," and he says, "Black men cry." And that was, to me, as I said, that was real, because that's another thing you don't see. You don't see a lot of black men crying within media. You see, there has been more of it within media. You see black men expressing themselves, showing themselves, but to see a black man on one of the biggest platforms in the world just cry and let his tears flow, like, it wasn't a sob, it wasn't it wasn't a heavy cry. It was just letting it show in his face that, like, yes, I am going through pain. Showing that, yes, I am human. I do not have days where I feel the best, but I'm trying. And that is a message that I think it went over a lot of people's heads if you didn't watch that interview the way I watched that interview. And that's fine. I watch interviews with a different lens. I watch a lot of things with a different lens. I'm always looking for a more deeper understanding of people and meanings. But in that moment, it was good to see in an interview, because you're seeing him tell his truth. He's not being fake, and that leads to another one of the best moments of the interview, where he started taking off his jewelry. He was like, "Oh, this shit fake." He's like, "This shit it was $20 on Amazon. This shit mean nothing to me." And that was real, because he was speaking from a perspective of, I'm not trying to be anything else other than me. I'm telling my truth, whether you like it or not. And I think that is something that lacks from a lot of media today and from a lot of people today, and a lot of people who do interviews, a lot of people that talk on microphones, is that they don't tell the truth of what they're going through. It don't gotta be all your business. It don't gotta be anything about your business. But it's okay. And I think what I'm trying to say is people need to understand that it's okay to not be the man. It's okay to be down and fucked up. It's okay to not be at the tippy top. It's okay to not be keeping up with the Joneses. It's okay to not have something. And it's okay to try to understand why, and try to understand why you're hurt and be hurt and sit in that hurt for a minute. And that's also okay to bounce back from that. And to see a black man in Tyrese express that on camera, I felt that was so, it meant so much, because that is not something that a lot of black men discuss openly, is that level of pain and understanding, and that it's you. You have to understand that, and not even just in the terms of just black men, but a lot of adults, a lot of people don't understand. Like, yes, it is okay to just be trying your best. It's okay to not have what everyone else have. Like when Tyrese took off those diamond what the fuck was it? That diamond bracelet? That was real shit. And he said it was fake. That was real shit. Because you know why? There's a lot of people out here that walk around with diamonds on and say them shit's real, and then look down on someone else because they got something fake on that looks nice, but because you lack that fakeness that seems real, you ain't real to them. But here you have a man in Tyrese he's successful. He's done millions. He's telling you, he's like, look, even on this level, you be fake. That's honesty that is unmatched. That's honesty that people don't show. And it's really just honesty that people bullshit with, for real, for real. And for Tyrese to be so honest with himself within that interview, that's real. And I know I've repeated that's real throughout this a bunch, but like, it's really something you can't fake. You can't fake those emotions. You can't fake everything that he said. You can't fake trying to go through life without certain people that you love, or certain people that you've been with, certain people that you've had experiences with, certain people who've been there for you, certain people who are just pillars within your life. And then going back, one of the biggest things he said in the interview was that there is no house, role, partner, anything that can fill the void of his mama being gone. And as a person who hasn't lost their mom and is fearing the day when I eventually do have to lose my mom, because everyone on this planet does go, that is something that's so real, because a lot of people get so caught up in the materialism of today, they forget that tomorrow exists. And that's one of the things that is really hard about growing up and being grown, as Tyree said, is that you lose things. And losing your parents is probably one of the things that is one of the most demoralizing things to happen to a person. While I'm not speaking from experience of losing a parent, I'm speaking from the experience of seeing two parents lose their parents. Um, it changed them. Definitely not for the worse, because they were adults, but it had an effect on them. It's something different when you lose a person that helped bring you into this world. When you lose a person that is half your identity along with your other parent, especially if you've known that one parent for a majority of your life compared to the other one, especially if that parent was your primary parent. But overall, when it comes to the Tyrese interview and everything he said, I think that's an interview that if you have time, go watch it. It really shows a lot of the complexity of a person and how much pain really can, in a lot of ways, shape, change, and build a person up, and not just break a person down. It can redefine a person's view on life, redefine their mission in life, redefine what they want to do with their life. So I say, if you got a good hour in you, go check out that Breakfast Club interview with Tyrese. Now, another interview that's been making its ways, and that for one caught my eye as a wrestling fan, was John Cena's interview with Shannon Sharp. I really enjoyed that sit down between the two. I feel like it was a great conversation that was had. And one of the main things that came up was John Cena's standpoint on having kids. Now, as a wrestling fan, and being able to have watched many other reality shows that John watched the reality show that John Cena was on, where this conversation came up with Nikki Bella, and being able to see John talk about this in many other interviews before, seeing him relay this message again in this way, I think was something a lot of people needed to hear. Not specifically because it's John Cena, but specifically because it's an honest response to someone who doesn't want to have kids, and it's him simply saying, I don't believe that I'm at a stage of life where I want to have kids, and I will do a good job at it, and I won't let my own personal ambitions as a person get in the way of being a parent. And I think that is a honesty that a lot of people need to have for themselves nowadays, because a lot of people, they say they want to be a parent, but they just want to have a child. They don't actually think about what goes into making that child a person, making them a functioning individual in society. And it can be evident when you look at some of the statistics of where children education in America is right now. A lot of people are parents because they had children, but they're not doing anything to nurture their child, fuel their child with anything. And I think what John Cena said was so right. He basically said, my ambition and my curiosity for the world, I know is too great to bring a child into it, and I'm not going to be able to fully do my best because I still personally have things I want to do and things I want to get done and things that I necessarily don't want to put on the back burner to have a child. And that is an honesty that, like I said, a lot of people need to start having with themselves, because you've seen the shift where a lot of people are choosing their career over children, but you also see a lot of people irresponsibly having children. People just having children with people they don't even know, people they just like get a lot of people in trouble. You have people having children with people that they thought that they don't even really see a future with. They're just dating this person for now, but now y'all have a lifelong commitment to each other, and y'all both are selfish and want to live your own life. Y'all wasn't even thinking about bringing a kid into the world. What John Cena said was something that needed to be spoke about more, of people who not only don't want to have kids, but people who shouldn't have kids, because they know, or rather they don't know, that their own personal life choices, their goals, what they want to do with their life, can lead to them neglecting their child. This isn't nothing new. I mean, people see it all the time. It's the same thing as the parent that leaves the child with grandma to go out. They wasn't planning on being a parent. They wasn't planning on being an adult yet either. Some people was just on that bed, hunching, getting it in, doing some fucking, and next thing you know, a child pop out. But because they're so selfish, and because they don't understand the totality of what they did or the magnitude of what bringing a life into this world means, they're still focused on themselves. They're still worried about what they got to do Saturday. They're not worried about what their kid need by tomorrow. For John Cena saying what he said in that Shannon Sharp interview was something that a lot of people needed to hear. If you watched it, if you've seen it, whatever. It's something that truly needs to be said because there's a lot of people out there like that who don't even have that level of self-awareness to understand that, yeah, I shouldn't have a child because me as a person, I'm not ready because I'm not ready to give up everything that comes with having a child. I personally can say, at this stage I'm at right now in life, I don't want a kid. Diapers and an eighth cost the same amount, and diapers have tax. I think I'm gonna stick to buying eighths, but that's because I know and I make the decision personally to understand I'm not ready for a kid. I understand I am selfish in my ways right now, and I'm not willing to unrelinquish those ways for a kid right now. And a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, that's crazy, that's crazy, that's crazy." No, it's not. I'm 22. I want to live my life before I start having children. Anybody else would tell any other 22-year-old that. I feel like that's something that shouldn't just be stuck to young people. That should be stuck to people all around the board. If you cannot give up your own personal ways that can get in the way of you having a child, taking care of your child, nurturing your child, building your child up as a person, then you shouldn't have children because that just breeds more hurt people into the environment. You're not ready to let go of being a teenager or let go of being a young adult. So now your child damn near raising themselves for the first couple years of their life, or grandma raising them, or somebody else raising them. You just mom, you just dad. You there, but you're not there. And I think that's the main thing that John Cena's trying to say is that he doesn't want to be a parent that's there, but not there. And that's many of parents. There's many of parents in this world who they are there, they're present, you can see them every day, but they're not involved. They're not they're not feeding into their child. They're not being something that their child can look up to, can aspire to be. They're not feeding the soul, the brain, the mental well-being of the child. They're still selfish. They're still caught up in their own personal world. So they don't understand how to be a parent. And that is true. There's a lot of people that don't understand how to be a parent. It doesn't come with a handbook or a guidebook. Any parent will tell you that. But there's a lot of people who truly don't understand how to be a parent. And it's in the sense of they don't understand how to give up their own personal wants and needs to see their child thrive. Or give the time that it may take for them to see the child thrive. And that's a truth that a lot of people don't want to admit about themselves. And some people do. Some people say, I never wanted you motherfuckers anyway. There's a lot of parents that talk to their kids like that. Anyway, there's a lot of parents talk to their kids like that. I didn't even want y'all motherfuckers anyway. But you see, those are the irresponsible people that had children and wasn't ready to have children. And that's a conversation that needs to be had more. Of be honest with yourself. You don't really want kids. Sometimes you just want to hunch and go about your business. Sometimes fucking raw feels better. If you're gonna be able to keep it a buck, fucking raw feels better. And to my dudes out there, I understand. Leaving it in is so much easier than pulling out. But when we start talking about bringing life into the world, all those selfish wants and needs have to go out the window. Because now you're dealing with a life. You're not dealing with a pet, a toy, something that you can just get rid of, something that was just a split decision and now it's here forever and you don't have to deal with it. No, that's not how children work. That's not how people work. Because in the day, children are people. They're not accessories. They're not Instagram fucking they're not things for Instagram or social media. They're not toys. They're people. They're things you have to nurture. They're things you have to grow. They're 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 important. You can't just think about yourself anymore. And what John Cena basically said with answering that question was, I will never not be ready. I will never not be ready. I will never be ready to have a child because I personally still have so much wonder about this world and so much more work I want to do within it. And people, there's a lot of people that's going to judge him for that, but no, that's an honesty that's true. There's a lot of people who have kids who wanted to do more with their life. I mean, hell, on TikTok, people were just getting on this lady who had she had a ballet career. She's an amazing ballet, and then she got married. You see, that's a woman that wanted kids. She wanted a family. She was ready to give up that dream to have a family and a husband. That's what she wanted. Now, if she was a selfish woman, you will see her unhappy there because that's not really where she wants to be. Her bringing new life into this world when she really wants to be on a ballet stage. That'd be two different things. If she was completely unhappy in that situation, that's the selfishness that people would talk about. But the selflessness that she had with giving up that career, that's the selflessness it takes to be a parent. And that's the selflessness that John Cena said he didn't have. And that level of honesty is the honesty that a lot of other people need to have with themselves. Because a lot of people just be having kids, but you don't want to be a parent. You just want an ancestry that looks like you. But in another part of that John Cena interview, on a lighter note, that was really amazing to watch, was when he was talking about his love for hip hop. When he brought up Kwame, that was different. Shout out Kwame. Kwame is a hip hop legend, crucial part to hip hop. But when John Cena brought up hip hop and what it meant to him, and just how it was his way of rebellion, his way of finding something that where he was different, that was something that was also different. And for me, being born in the 2000s, I kind of my view of hip hop is different from his. So he got to experience hip hop when it was first coming out, or when after the first like decade of hip hop being around. I got I already was past two golden eras of hip hop, and in my opinion, I would say a third before the fourth. Um, and to just listen to John Cena speak about how much hip hop means to him and the essence of what hip hop means to him in terms of just being a rebel. I really enjoyed the conversation that he was able to have with Shannon Sharper about that. And this ties into my next topic of there was a great I'm not even gonna say great. There was a debate between Dr. Umar and hip hop correspondent Mouse Jones. Shout out Mouse Jones. He does a lot of great work within hip hop media and the space in general. I feel like this debate between the two was, if I'm being honest, it was two great minds having a great debate, but not bringing out their best work to the debate. Um, Dr. Umar leaned on the side of hip hop has been more destructive for the black community, and Mouse Jones obviously was on the opposing side to that argument. Both brought up great points, but I feel like it could have been further expanded on from both sides. Now, my opinion on whether hip hop has done better or worse to the black community is simply there's no real answer to that. And I say there's no real answer because you can't honestly say hip hop has done all negative and you can't say hip hop has done all positive. And it's hard to equate how much negativity and how much positivity is all hip hop's fault rather than just the culture of our communities, or rather the fragmentation of our communities that can aid to the negativity that happens in our community. You can't all place that on hip hop. And the positivity that hip hop has also brought, you cannot just forget about that as well. Um Now, if I'm on the side of Dr. Umar saying that hip hop has brought more negativity, I would say he is right in how hip hop has aided in the degrading of the image of the black man and black woman. Um, the promotion of a lot of ignorance, materialism, transactional relationships, stereotypes. Um, Hip hop's influence overall is what people look at for the negativity and how it negatively has influenced parts of our culture and people a part of our culture. Um, I know a lot of people. When I had this conversation with my father, he said the same thing I said. He said, "Well, it's a lot of nuance to it," but he said one thing that you can point that is already easily pointed out as one of the negatives of hip hop is everything that has come out of hip hop, every genre, subgenre of hip hop that has come out that glorifies the negative parts of society rather than tells the story about the negative parts of society. And I started to look at that and I was like, he may have a point. Because as we see now with the drill scene, there's not really there's not really anyone within the drill scene saying like, hey, yeah, I do this. This my lifestyle. You don't have to live this lifestyle. You know, and just as a lover of music, I like to go back and listen to older hip hop. When you listen to older hip hop, you do hear similar things from today, but you hear how much consequences come with it. When if you think back to the Locks, when you hear the Locks speaking and you hear them rapping, yeah, they rapping about like, yeah, you gonna have to go do this, do this, do this, do this, but that shit come with 10 years, and that's classic for the Locks. A lot of the Lock songs are like that. They rapping about what goes on in the hood and the reality of what happens when you gotta quote unquote gotta do what you gotta do. And that's something that is missing from today's era of hip hop is that the consequences are not talked about enough, but the glamorization of the moments and the things you do are. Like, for example, I can remember writing a paper on this during the early 2000s, early 2010s. There became a more glorification of the person who uses the drugs, the glorification of the dope fiend, and that definitely is a negative influence that hip hop can definitely take blame for. I mean, hip hop lost one of his brightest stars due to drugs, Juice World, and his biggest influence, he said, was Future, whose Future's music early on was heavily about drugs, codeine, pills, everything. And then you see Future, how much Future influence those under him to where those are not only what that's not only what they rap about in their music, but that is also what they do in their own personal time. And we've seen a numerous amount of artists in this time either pass away or have to check themselves into rehab because partially because of the influence of hip hop. I mean, when people was talking about drinking scissor, it started in Houston, and then they influenced Lil Wayne, and then Lil Wayne popularized it and made drinking lean a staple. It became a status symbol. You know what I mean? So if you look like when you look at things like that, factors like that about how hip hop has negatively influenced the black community, then you could be like, yeah, hip hop has done worse for our community. But if you flip it on Dr. Umar, and you look at for everything that Dr. Umar argues about generational wealth, the black family, you can also say that hip hop for its negatives has breeded those positives of many people within hip hop who are whether they're artists, work behind the scenes, they have been able to make some type of money that has granted them some type of generational wealth. If we talk about the top artists such as like the Drakes, the Coles, the Kendricks, the Big Sean's, the Futures, the Migos, all those are young black men from my era. Well, not from my era because they're older than me, but that I grew up listening to, who they now have families and they're now like they're not like they're wealthy, they're rich, they can take care of all their kids, and some of them have family units that are strong and will continue to be strong and be supported based off the generational wealth that they've gotten through hip hop. I mean, going back to John Cena, hip hop was also used as a way to rebel and make a scene and be a tool for people to galvanize each other and fight back against the system. I mean, who was the guy from Two Live Crew? The guy from Two Live Crew. But either way, like the guy from Two Live Crew, if the court case for him to say what he wanted on his records and not get punished for what he says on his records didn't happen, you know how much music we probably would have missed out on? Like that court case, that right of free speech, that court case for artists and music did a lot. But that was a court case that happened with hip hop because they're trying to censor hip hop. And if people don't remember, hip hop was not always the term. It was rap. People called it rap. It was not coined the term hip hop, I think, until Diddy coined it the term hip hop. Who, despite all his problems and his fucked up ways, is another story from hip hop that can aid to the positives of hip hop. Bad Boy was a cultural movement. A lot of people that I speak to who are older than me, who are around for that time, say Bad Boy was a cultural movement. Bad Boy and Death Row damn near, they say Bad Boy and Death Row damn near was everything people were listening to. If you wasn't listening to Bad Boy, you was listening to Death Row. And if you wasn't listening to Death Row, you was listening to Bad Boy. If you wasn't listening to either, you was probably listening to the South. But hip hop overall, its influence, I think you can't really say it's all negative or it's all positive or it done worse or it did better. I think hip hop, people have to give grace. Hip hop is only a culture that is only 50 years old, is relatively young as a genre of music and as it's a culture. And I think that's what people forget a lot of times when discussing hip hop is that it's not just a genre of music, but it is a culture that has been created, bred, and is always changing. I think people have to understand that there's nuance within hip hop. Yeah, there's a lot of negativity that comes out of hip hop, but there's also a lot of positives that come out of hip hop. And then you also have, and then if we just get deeper on it, hip hop isn't specifically ran by the people that do the music. Hip hop is definitely a business that is not run by black people. You don't see too many black music moguls today. You see Jay-Z and Rock Nation, but then how many artists are signed to Rock Nation, right? You see many artists now going independent. So there's not even no point for a label anymore because everyone's independent. And then let me not get off into a tangent, but like, all right, if we get back to the negatives of hip hop and what negativity hip hop breeds, you can say violence, and even then, that's not on hip hop. That you have to blame that on the conditions of society. Yeah, hip hop. Many people have said hip hop has influenced them to do negative shit and get into trouble in the street. But the people who was talking on those records was talking about the reality of what they was living in, the standards that society has set for them. So they didn't have nowhere to get out. But hip hop ended up being their way. And that's why hip hop, in my opinion, although I say there's a lot of nuance, I always say hip hop has done more good than harm for the community, as there's been many people who were able to use hip hop as a tool to get out. Hip hop is an art, it is a skill. but it's not treated that way and it's not looked at that way. And I think that's why you end up having these debates where people say has hip hop done more harm than good, because people still don't look at hip hop as an art. Many of us don't look at hip hop as an art. And when I say us, I say black people. And that's probably because of where hip hop has gone in the last decades. Hip hop, in my opinion, has slowly begun to die. And I'm not going to say it's slowly begun to die because it's gotten away from the classic quote unquote boom bap hip hop. Because to be honest, while I will listen to it, I can honestly give a fuck less for it. Um, I think there's a lack of variety in old school hip hop. Not everyone sounds the same. People have distinct voices, but past the voice, it's the same vibe and feeling. Whereas now in my era, this current era, there's much more variety. But the problem is it's dumbed down. So you have intelligent, but it sounds similar, versus dumbed down and all the lyrics sound the same. But overall, I think when it comes to hip hop, you have to really look at hip hop as a culture that's always changing. And it's a genre that's relatively young. You can't really put a stamp on it. For a genre to be this young and have so many different iterations already in just 50 years, you have to understand there is going to be a lot of negatives and positives that come with it. But you also have to understand that these are also real people living in real conditions. The thing with hip hop is that I think a lot of people don't understand is that a lot of people within hip hop don't come from backgrounds where they are set up with advantages. People are coming from the bottom. People are coming from hardship. So niggas is talking about hardship. Niggas not talking about the white picket fence. Niggas is talking about what they really live. Yeah, my friend died and got shot because we out here having to do this real shit so I can have food on my table. People don't understand that hip hop just promotes negativity. No, I think what people have to understand is hip hop promotes real life situations of what's going on. But as we've gotten older and as hip hop's progressed, we've seen how more people are just lying. This is not the actual life they're living. And I think that is where the negativity comes in. And it goes back to what I've been saying the whole time on this episode, is that it all comes down to the truth and being real. To answer Dr. Umar and Mouse Jones' debate is what I'm going to say, because I know I've been just rambling and talking, is that hip hop started to be negative and started to be bad for the black community when people stopped being real. When people stopped actually telling their stories and the stories that go on around them, and started making up personas to be something they're not, to present themselves as higher than they are, to present themselves as people that they're not, whether it be fake gangsters, fake celebrities, fake success stories before they even get a deal, whatever. When people stop being real in hip hop, that's when the community negatively got affected, because no longer were people telling the stories that people can relate to. People were showing their highlights like Instagram, and now it just breeded jealousy and envy, and a bunch of people trying to chase a fake dream that is non-existent. It's almost like a version of the American dream that you know you don't live and that you know you haven't reached yourself yet, but you're gonna tell someone else to try to reach it at the same time while you're faking it. When hip hop became that, that's when hip hop became negative. And when hip hop started promoting and people being fake about their drug usage, what they do on the street, who they are for real, and that's when hip hop started failing. Because now you have real people trying to imitate fake people. And because real people aren't scared like fake people, you get the problems you end up having. When you have fake gangsters pretending to be real gangsters, now you get real kids being trying to be real gangsters. which is where now you get the drill era. You know, like think about it like this: if there was never an era of rap where, if you never had NWA and Wu Tang, where guys were talking about the reality of the street culture and the street life, and then you had the next era where all these labels really started having power now, and they weren't controlled by us; they were controlled by others, and now they saw that, this gangster shit is profitable, right? Then you have that middle era where you now have niggas who are fake gangster. Once you get past Gucci Man and T.I.'s era, you now going to an era of fake gangster. Where these niggas is faking, these niggas is lying. Future told you himself. He don't do all them drugs. He lying. He said, yeah, I do drugs, but I don't do all that. I don't do all the shit. He's lying. But now you have real kids soaking that up. And that's the negativity that I think Dr. Umar should have pointed out about hip hop. Is that when people stop being real and telling the real stories in their honesty, rather than just putting on a show for the glitz and the glamour and being fake, that's what ruins hip hop. But at the core, the positive that is hip hop will always remain, because the culture that is hip hop that unites people together to enjoy the music, that will never disappear. As long as that never leaves, hip hop will never disappear. And I think hip hop will forever be strong due to that. As long as people still come together to listen to the music and enjoy the culture that hip hop is, hip hop will never ever be looked down or looked at as something that's completely negative or completely harmful to the black community. But I've been talking for an hour and six, and that's all I got for you guys. Catch your niggas on the flip. It's 224 out.